Hello, and welcome to another Daily Code Fun. I am One Lion, and we need to refresh the browser. Yes. Whoops. Whoops. Refresh. All right. Anyway, what a good day to get started. And thank you so much, APOC, for the bits, for the for the jeer, I guess. Hi, hello, welcome to Friday. It is Daily Code Fun Community Day, where we enjoy each other's company. We have some people that are, if we have anyone that's interested in presenting something, then I am inviting you over to Discord. Join any voice channel and I'll pull you into the remote stream. Tommy said that he wanted to show us HTMX, so we may see him later today. But yeah, so each Friday I try to invite people into the stream to present something, and this will be ongoing until things break and things stop working. But yeah, so yes, thank you, Zulius, for reporting back to me that my test failed, although it didn't fail. I just didn't have it posting anything to chat. And I did get the message, and I was able to read the message and do stuff with the message. So, not broken. But yeah, until we get some people that want to present anything, we're just going to continue on with the project that we've been working on this whole time. So we started a financial management tracker. We started a financial management tracker on Wednesday. New project that we're going to do in Blazor. I decided that we're going to do Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor Server side by side. We might try doing something like comparing and contrasting differences in the two just as a learning tool. And so we spent Wednesday coming up with the, it's actually in the GitHub project. We spent Wednesday doing the project description, writing out the requirements, telling us what the financial management tracker app is going to be, what it's going to do, how it's intended to be used. And again, this is going to be a simplistic app for now. Maybe we'll add more complex things like machine learning. I would love to do machine learning. So we'll work on that. So we have the application description currently in the README of the GitHub repo, which is open source. It is public. It's on my GitHub, which you can find out what that is in the comments, description, or not comments, the description of both the Twitch channel in my About section and the YouTube video when I post it on YouTube. I've been posting these videos on YouTube as we complete them 24 hours after we stream them on Twitch. At least 24 hours, I should say. So that's what we did on Wednesday. Then Thursday, we came up with so yeah, this is a project structure as a picture, I guess. Then we came up with a simple database design. We had a discussion about different things that we could do with it, different approaches. And so this is what we ended up with so far. So what we're going to do today then is to take this ER diagram and put it into a code first database project. And again, I'm trying to stick to my standard way of doing things, although I do kind of want to adapt to suggestions and opinions that come up. Oh, I can't get the bottom corner of this thing. Oh, come on. Come on. I can't get the bottom corner of this window. Wow, that's a really hard thing to grab. Fuck. So Apoc said, "What did the 0 say to the 8?" Nice belt. It's a visual joke. Okay. Okay. Anyway, my pajamas are falling. So, I already created a branch for it because there was a small change that I wanted to make with something that we changed recently. Oh, right. We added the README to the actual solution so that it's easier to update the README when we get to that point. And hello, Balint. Konnichiwa. Um, we get so many cool and amazing people in here. It's crazy. I have no idea why you guys would show up here, but I really, really appreciate it. Oh, I need to be nicer to myself. Yeah, I've been told this many times. I'll do better at that. Tyron with a joke. He said, "Did you hear what happened to the Italian chef? He passed away." But I don't think I get it. I'm kidding. Um, keep them coming. It's Community Day, guys. So we're definitely gonna. I'm very interruptible today. I mean, I usually am. Well, I guess distracted, but that's not a challenge. Please don't take that as a challenge. That's just annoying to me. If you do have questions that you have regarding the project that you're working on, if you have discussions that you want to have about things that you're doing, having fun with, um, then yeah, just let us know. And dun dun dun! Thank you again, APOC, for the bits. It's a trap. Oh man. It's okay though. We're going to have a lot of fun things coming up soon. I made a little bit of progress with the bot last night and this morning, but I'm supposed to be focusing the majority of my time doing the Learn courses so that I can prepare for the Azure certification exam from the Microsoft Build event that we got for free. So I need to schedule that. I'm gonna schedule it, do the actual scheduling of it on Monday, and then I'll find out what the actual date is that I'm planning on taking the exam. Ooh, hey, that looks like me. I did that in the middle of a gas station before, or supermarket. There are so many Azure modules to unlearn. It's kind of overwhelming. Yeah. So what I did during build was I went through the data one, the data challenge, and then for the certification exam that I'm planning on taking, I'm going through the build challenge that's supposed to prepare you for that one. Have you ever used parallel class in C#? Asks Scott. I was taught about it, but never seen people using it. I've only seen a couple people using it, but I personally haven't had much experience with it. I remember trying it before, but I didn't do much with it. Essentially, what you're trying to do with parallel is operations on objects that are not related to each other or not dependent on each other to perform all of those operations at the same time. But other than that, no, I really haven't had much experience with it at all. Do do. Okay, so database stuff. Database stuff. Database stuff. Here we go. My database stuff Yeah, maybe it's good, maybe it isn't. I don't know. The approaches that I've used for doing asynchronous processing is using task when all or task when any, or just fire and forget. So I just haven't had a need to. Maybe parallel for each, for example, is something that you can do synchronously and yet still process, um, still do operations on the objects in a list asynchronously almost. I can't think of the word right now. My mind is blinking out, but that's okay. Um, this file here is going to be our finan man context, which I'm going to name the class finan man context. And so this is going to be the thing that sets up our database connectivity, our database, the way that we can interact with our database using Entity Framework. So to do that, we actually need a couple of things. We need Entity Framework core, and as I mentioned before, I'll be using SQL Server up front to build out my stuff. I did the wrong one. So we're going to add a reference to Entity Framework core.sql server, which will also give us a reference to Entity Framework core.sql. Or dot, just Entity Framework core. Oh my goodness, I can't word. Somebody teach me words. Zulius is saying, same, I haven't seen any in the wild use of parallel or even the older threading stuff. I guess it's all culminated in the await functionality we have now. Possibly, yeah. So tasks and IEnumerables with yield returns and all of that fun stuff. Okay, so now that I've added that library, we should have DB context. And we can generate some overrides. First, let's generate the constructor that is the one that takes in the I options. And essentially, we just call base. What I have seen in other applications is if not options dot is configured. Oh, that's why. I thought that this was supposed to be IDB context options. Or DB context options of finan man context. Yeah, this is right. Maybe it is IDB context of options. No, okay, so it's definitely the generic type that I'm used to doing. And if not options dot is I don't know where is configured went, but I'm just completely remembering it wrong, I guess. So Scott found something on the interwebs, I'm assuming. By default, parallel for each tries to use all of the available threads of the machine to lower the impact on the system. Oh, all of the available threads on the machine, period. Full stop. To lower the impact on the system, we can use the max degree of parallelism option. This property limits the number of spawned concurrent tasks, so we don't impact the other running processes of the application. And that seems really good, is his remark about it. It seems like a thing you can do. Yeah, so parallel processing makes sense in some contexts. Just make your program use all of the threads. It'll be fine. Yeah, I'm okay with C#'s managed threads. Okay. Anyway, I kind of remember seeing something that has to do with when you pass in the options, if the options aren't configured, then provide some default configuration. However, we don't need to do that, since for this application, we know that we're going to be configuring the options when we're using it. So again, this is just a separate database project that we're going to have. You could, if you wanted to, put the database project in one of your server. If you have like a Blazor WebAssembly only with a hosted backend, you could put it in the server project there. If you have a Blazor server project, you could put it directly in there. But since we're going to be sharing this database across multiple projects, I have it in its own set of projects. And then I also like to split up my database context portion of it that uses Entity Framework Core away from my models portion of it, which is just a .NET, what would be a .NET standard, but I'm using .NET 6, which is .NET everywhere. So I just leave it as .NET 6. And then a separate project that's going to be my migrations. If I was better at .NET CLI, we wouldn't even need this project. We could just use the .NET CLI to create the migrations in, say, the database project. I keep seeing things flashing over here, but I don't have anything on the screen that has animations or movements. Maybe it's just my glasses. Okay, so we have our constructors. The next thing that we want to do is create the entities for our database tables. So yet again, another thing that I often do to structure my projects is for my models, because I often do have other types of database objects described, or at least I have placeholders for those other objects in my models so that I can do things like run stored procedures or create views and get results from those views. I create folders for those different things. So the two folders that I normally have is tables and views. But we're not going to have views yet, so not worried about having that one yet. But I am planning on adding views just because it's going to be faster for us to create a view in the database that we can query that is already indexed, it has history, and then it's optimized over time after being run over and over. So we'll use some views eventually. But for now, let's just create the database entities, aka the tables. And so those are going to be account type, transaction. I'm just looking over at our design, which is why you see me looking over back and forth. Transaction detail, transfer, line item type, scheduled transaction, payee, recurrence type. And so one thing that I'm seeing up front is that I have 3 tables. And actually, let me get up to the last table. So payee, category, and category. So I have 3 tables, category, recurrence type, and count type, which are just going to be essentially lookup to, oh, and line item type, sorry, 4 tables, they're just going to be lookup tables. And I usually like to have my lookup tables use the same structure. And so we're going to create either a base class or an interface or both, and then I'll make people mad by making both. But I don't like repeating myself when I can, when I'm able to pay attention. Yeah, I'll show you what I mean. So I guess I'm going to have a shared folder. And this shared folder is going to have iLookupItem. And an iLookupItem is going to have public int ID, public string name, public int sort order. If we're not going to let it sort by sort alphabetically. If we are just going to let it sort alphabetically, we just won't populate the sort order. It'll be fine. Public date time, which I'm going to make nullable, even though it's not going to be nullable in the long run. The reason that I want to make it nullable is because I want to default its value in all of the tables to system UTC now, or system UTC date time, whatever it's called. So that's going to be last updated, and then a boolean flag for deleted, because we aren't going to delete, we're going to soft delete our records that are in our lookups. And hello, prog testing. Hello, One Lion and Friday. Okay. So iLookupItem is going to be that. Yes. Okay. Why did I do it like that? I don't know why I did it like that. This is an interface. So then the other thing that I usually do, which I have been shunned for, but I like this approach, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a lookupItem base, which is going to be an abstract class that is going to implement iLookupItem. And all of these are going to be virtual, so that they can be overwritten if they need to be. However, they most likely won't. Right. And you are not nullable. So we're going to make it default, like so. Okay, which means that this one is going to inherit lookupItem base, and I won't have to write anything special for it unless it has extra fields. If it had extra fields, then I would add them here. Same thing with you, category. You. Okay, and there you go. Cool. So then for the rest of them, I'm just going to apply the whole file scope namespace. and get rid of the unused usings. I could use code cleanup for this, but I don't trust it as much. Chicken Justin, it's been a while. That looks like some cool Java code. It's C#. That's why it looks like cool Java code. There. The better Java. It's totally J#. Zulius. Oh man. Yes. Okay, so let's just fill in the entities, which are all going to have an ID. And again, this is something that it's like we should be able to have some kind of decorations that we can put on database entities when using Entity Framework that is like has primary key of type blah, and it'll automatically create the ID property for you. And it probably is there, but I don't know of anything like that. Ooh, I missed one. Maybe two. Okay, so back to account. We're gonna do public string name, public right. Okay. So we have a decision to make here. And I don't exactly know how I want to do it. When we have a lookup table, we have a couple of ways that we can manage that lookup table. So one way is we can add lookup types as like a hard-coded list of lookup types that we will only ever maintain using our database projects. So what I mean by that is we could have account type lookup, make this an enum, and we can have stuff like savings, checking, credit card, loan. What else? Other. No, I don't like other. But anyway, we could just, come up with every possible account type that we want. And when we're using it, we use the account type with our public virtual account type navigation property so that we can get to the account type from here, from account. And in account type, our primary key would be an account type lookup. So that would be the ID. But that restricts us from being able to add new account types in the application. So you would really only want to use this when your set of values that you're using in your lookup table are static, or for the most part in place when you first create the app. You're not going to be modifying it while running the app. If you're ever going to modify it, you're going to do it through a migration. But that is not the case for any of these tables, because I want them all to be customizable. Recurrence type. Recurrence type might be one. Okay. Dang it. So we can cheat. Oop, I look up item. I'm gonna cheat. Okay. What are you gonna do about it? I look up item of T key. T key. So I am gonna have one table that is gonna have hard-coded values. Cheater! It's gonna have hard-coded values, and it's not gonna change while we run the application. It's not gonna change just anytime, ever. Once we set it once in our database migration and we see the data, it's never going to be updated. Unless, of course, you go into the database yourself and modify it and break everything, in which case, it's your fault. I am not responsible for this. There are a lot of things that I feel responsible for, but that wouldn't be one of them. So we're going to have an iLookup item, which is just going to be an iLookup item of int, which I actually don't need that one. The one that I need to put it on is my lookup item base. T key. And this is going to be T key. Not nullable. Which I guess makes this, which means that we don't need anything in there. Oh, I'm so lazy. I love being lazy. Okay, so in all cases, I can keep the lookup item base, which is going to default to lookup item base with an ID that is an int. But for the recurrence type, I'm going to add my recurrence type. I need a better name for this. So I want the enum to be called recurrence type. And I don't want to confuse the enum with the entity. So what is a good approach? Should I just add a prefix to the table names? To the class types for the table names? Such as in Lu. Does this hurt anyone's feelings? If I name the entity lookup account type, lookup category, lookup line item type, would it look better if I did account item lookup? Any thoughts? Any opinions? Just let me know before I end all of this for the end of days. Okay, so my recurrence types are going to be one time, daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, annually, and we're going to have a special making the custom recurrence type or the one that's like every X days. So let's say you start on this specific day and every other day, or every 15th day, or on the 1st and the 15th. Yeah, that's a big one. So on the 1st and 15th of each month. But if you were saying on the 1st and 15th of each month, it would be two recurrence or two scheduled transaction rules. So never mind that. Yeah, we'll have to consider that as well. But anyway, I didn't get any feedback on whether anyone was not liking the LU prefix on those tables. At least the models. The tables are still going to be called account type, category, line item type, and recurrence type in the database. And we'll configure that in the database context. Okay, so that is and that's going to be an int, account type ID, and this is going to be account type, which is going to be not nullable because I want to make sure that every account has an account type. Okay, payee. Payee, according to our design, has a name. And that's it. But there are other relationships. So when I get to those other relationships, that's when I'll put the navigation property into the related tables. So for example, actually, I'm going to go to, payee category, because we already have both of those tables. So payee category is the table that relates a payee to a category. Payees can be in multiple categories, and categories can have multiple payees. So this is going to be public payee ID, public int payee ID, and public int category ID, which means that we're going to have our navigation properties of payee, which is not nullable, and category. And so to complete the other lookup category, to complete the other side of this navigation property, we're going to go into each of those entities and make it public virtual. Did I make those virtual? Yeah. I collection payee category, payee categories, and we're going to default it to a new hash set of payee category. And this will make sure that we don't have to do null checks when we're trying to include payee category or dot off of a payee category. And that's going to be in the payee and in the lookup category. And so this is the case where I'm able to add properties to my base class. Yes. The other thing that I could have done, instead of explicitly creating this payee category table, I could have added to my lookup category an I collection of payees, and then to my payee an I collection of categories. And that would have implicitly created that payee category table. Do I want to do that? So I haven't really done that before. I've almost always managed not even almost always. I just haven't done it before on purpose. I know that it's possible, but I always manage the tables. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to. So I'm going to change my mind again. So instead, we're going to use lookup category. We're going to do exactly what I just said you can do, and we're going to see how it works. No more payee category. What's the other one? Good category. Okay. What do we got? What else do we got? We got a count. Is this all of the tables? This does not feel like all of the tables, and I think it's because of all of these lookup tables. Like half of our database tables are lookups, almost half. So anyway, scheduled transactions are going to have a public recurrence type. And so here is the case where we're using the enum as the ID for the navigation property. It will translate to an int for us when we do it in Entity Framework. But the cool thing is that we can get back the enum itself without needing to get back the related reference table, which is going to be cool. It's going to be fun. Okay, sorry. Public. What else do we have in here? We have public int day num, which is going to be, again, the day number that is associated with the reference type. Do. We also have distracted. I'm not distracted. What do you mean? Public int account ID. Payee ID. Oh. Okay. Memo. Okay, I think that that's everything that I need as far as columns, properties, whatever you want to call it. So this thing knows that I need an account, but it doesn't know that I need my lookup reference type. So we will add that manually. Do you know that I need a payee? Yes, it does, but I needed to start typing it. because this is recurrence type ID, right? Okay. So because I am adding these here, I need to add them to the related tables. So account is going to have a list or an I collection of, I'll put my collection first, of scheduled transaction. Right. I usually put these in property name order when I'm adding my navigation properties. Maybe I should, there I go again, changing my mind. Schedule transactions. And this is going to be a new hash set of scheduled transaction. And the payee one is going to be another one. So F12 and recurrence type. Is this our first time actually using recurrence type? I mean, it must be, because this is the only place that recurrence type is used. So yes, obviously it is. Oops, 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 oops. Control S. Um, Gosh, payee category. Right, that's what happened. I got rid of payee category. I'm like, what's going on? Why am I missing stuff? Um, right. I need deletes in here, deleted flags. But now let's just do transaction, which is going to have the account ID, pay ID, date, time, date entered, and this is going to be nullable because, once again, this is going to be another field that's going to default. I wonder if instead of using the database default property, if I could just use datetime.utc now. I kind of don't like that because it's going to get assigned datetime.utc now as soon as the new object is created. So if we're thinking about how the application is going to work, when we go into a screen where we're entering a transaction, we're opening. Okay, thank you. Thank you, I'll fix that. When we go into a new transaction window, I'm picturing maybe either a dialog or just an inline row that you can add details to. But as soon as you create that row, it's going to get a new transaction item. However, it's going to get the transaction view model that's used in the app, and the actual date entered would happen when we're creating the entity on the server side. I like that. Yeah, I like that better. So we're going to use this instead of a nullable date time. I've run into a lot of issues using nullable date time as my last updated field. That was nice. Apparently I already copied that. So I think I'm going to be happier with this. Yeah. So not nullable. Especially since it really is intended that the last updated field is not nullable. Cool. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. I need to fix this name spelling. Thank you, Zulius. Okay. Public date time transaction date, which if you're thinking about this, it's like I don't know. I don't really know why I do this. But I keep track of both the date that I entered my transactions into my database and the date of the actual transaction itself. And now that I'm thinking of it, there is one more date that I would be really interested in keeping track of, and that is the posting date. But why would I want to keep track of that? I don't have a real reason to track that data. I guess marking a transaction as posted or not posted, I could fill in the posting date to change, as in a transaction as pending. Um, I can actually list or just fill in the posting date when it has posted. Yeah, this will be my pending flag. How's that? I like that. Any complaints about that? Anyone not like it? So we have the account and the payee. You're so weird. You gave me account right away. Why couldn't you give me that? Okay, which means that in our account, we also want transactions. And in our payee, we're going to have transactions. And so this is essentially a way of navigating between properties. I could start with a payee and get back all of the transactions I have for that payee. I could start with an account and get back all of the payees that I have for that, or all of the transactions that I have for that account. I could start with an account and find out what, or start with a transaction, find out what account and what payee it's for. Yeah. Next one up is our transaction detail. And our transaction detail, oh gosh, I keep forgetting to add the field. I'm going to add it to all of them where it makes sense to add it to all of them. Yeah, okay. My brain was still doing some planning. So transaction detail is going to have the transaction ID, which should be an int. I pushed tab. I was accepting your recommendation. Why didn't you let me? It's going to have the line item type. And so again, this thing right here is the line item itself. So is it the subtotal? Is it the sales tax? Is it the total because maybe you lost your receipt and you don't have the sales tax, or maybe you just don't care about tracking sales tax. Then you'd be able to put in that line item type. Maybe it's maybe it'll have an optional description, but that's going to be null in just about every case. So one thing that we're taught, which could have changed since the time I was doing databases back in 2004 through 2009, learning databases academically, but we would want to reduce the number of null fields in a table. And so in this case, just about every description field is going to be null. But since we're using nvarchar, nvarchar, nvarchar as our column type, at least by default, and we're going to give it a max length, it should be fine. So what I'm trying to avoid with this is what I find myself doing a lot is in my current version of this application, which again is an Access database, I have it to where I can type in anything I want and it'll create a new line item type for me if that line item type doesn't already exist, which means if I accidentally put in the price in this field, it'll create the price as a line item type, but that doesn't matter. The thing that does matter is I will create a line item type that is called something like, oh, I have an idea. Perfect. Okay, so I would have a line item type of sales tax. Wait a minute. Come on, I know you're itemized. No? Oh, okay. How about you? Inspection fee. So something like, separate fees. Hello, Dipsoft. Where across multiple people that you purchase stuff from, they probably have similarly named line items. So some kind of fee, and then I could put a description that is, this is a service fee, or like sales tax. You have local tax, you have state tax, you have county tax. Sometimes it's called local, sometimes it's called county. You have special tax on certain goods. So it's like I could still call it sales tax and then maybe add a description of why or what. Service fee could be, I don't know, just one line item type category, I guess, and then the string description of it. Man, I'm probably going to keep that. Tommy hasn't shown up yet, so I don't know if he's going to be coming or not. But he did say that he wanted to demonstrate some stuff. But just a reminder, it is Community Day. It is about an hour into the stream. We have an hour left. And I am still inviting anyone that feels like it, that wants to present something technology related to the group, to our channel. This, by the way, so this might discourage people, but I post these. I have been posting these videos to YouTube, so it will be recorded and it will be posted on YouTube. So don't do it unless you are okay with being recorded. I don't want to put you in a situation that you don't want to be in. I could also edit out the entire portion that has you in it, but I don't do very much editing on my videos. Okay. So these are our navigation properties. Line item type. lint item type, and this needs to be lookup. Okay, then that means that each transaction will have an IEnumerable or I collection. Did I make the other ones IEnumerable? I have no idea. Of transaction detail, transaction details, which is going to default to a new hash set of transaction detail. And once again, I do it like this so that when we do .include or a subquery off of the transaction details, like transaction details.any or select many transaction details, we don't need to worry about doing a null check on transaction details. It's just possible that the list will be empty, that there will be no items. And hello, Abadus. Abadus. Abra. Abra. Pasta you there? No, I copied the whole thing, didn't I? Okay. The final one is transfer. Oh, I missed a property on transaction detail, which is going to be decimal amount. And all right, I need to make sure that this is the right data type that we want. So I want, man, that's actually something we'll need to consider. What is the largest amount of money that we want to be able to track in a transaction? Like if someone like me were to do this, then it's a relatively small amount of money per transaction. So I don't need a wide range of values, of possible values. But should this be a double? This is a really big number.
It's over 9,000!
Yes, it will be over 9,000. Hello, Sotra Lord. It'll be a little bit over 9,000. Man. What a terribly formatted. "38 digits." I don't think there will ever be a transaction with 38 digits. And how precise do we need to be? Because that's what really matters. Um, that's a tough choice. That's a tough choice. Because what if we are dealing in transactions that are so small that they are fractions of a penny, and we need to keep track of those fractional transactions? And that's something that I never really considered, and I don't want to consider it. because that's just overcomplicating this, and I don't want to be overcomplicated. Let's just do a double. And then we can account for anything that we want to account for within reason, and we'll be good to go. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, moving on. So we have the amount. For the transfer table is the one that we are going to have. Yeah, so this is going to be different than our many-to-many table that we had two different tables involved. This is a many-to-many relationship within the same table where it's 0 or more. So one transaction can have 0 or more transfer. Actually, 0 or 1 transfer. Maybe I'll do it like that. Cool. So public int from transaction ID. And then we'll have a to transaction ID. And then we'll have our virtual transaction from transaction and a to transaction. And I guess both of you want to be not nullable, which makes sense. We want them to be not nullable. Because if we're using this table, then the from and to transactions are not null. However, in our transaction table, we could have a single, which I guess means I would put it here, public virtual transfer nullable But man, that would mean making sure that we keep track of the transfer ID in here. I kind of don't want to do that because that means that I'd have to have both transactions created first and then populate the transfer IDs afterwards. I wonder if it would, I doubt it, but I wonder if it would automatically update each transaction if I create a new transfer record. I don't think it would. So for now, I'm only going to be able to get transfers directly from the transfer table and then get back to the transaction. Oh no, that's not going to work. So now that I'm looking at this, oh, no, it's going to work. Okay, I was going to say, now that I'm looking at this, I don't see how it's going to work, but the thing that I forgot about is that we're going to have access to the transaction detail directly from the transaction. So we're going to go from transfer, and then we're going to find out how much we are removing from the from transaction, which gives us the account, it gives us the details, and the detail itself is going to be the one that gives us the total amount. So we will sum the amount in detail to find out how much we are removing from the from account. Cool. So I think that's going to be okay. So I'm going to go with, this is what our database is going to look like for now. This is still subject to change as we move along, as we figure things out. So now that I've created all of the entities, I need to register them to my database context so that my database context knows that each of these is going to represent a database object. And so the way we do that is by using a DB set. Now I have seen a bunch of stuff. I've seen a bunch and bunches of different things. So one of those things is making every single entity a partial class That way Entity Framework can add on to it. So I'm not sure if this makes it faster or what the benefit of making all of these partial classes is really. Maybe we should look that up. And I guess if anyone is interested in doing that, we'll look that up after we're done creating our database context and doing our first migration. So just let me know. Or if you have any information on it yourself, then definitely let me know that. But then the other thing that I've seen is making all of these virtual. And I'm pretty sure by the time we get done with this, all of these are going to be not null. We will always have an accounts table. We will always have a lookup account or an account type table, etc., etc. So I'm going to add some regions. There are also people that I've heard that don't like regions in their codes because it makes it like messy. And if you're going to use regions, maybe it's better to put it in a separate class. I don't know that. I don't know that I agree with that is what I mean to say. I like regions in my files. People don't like nested regions either. I just call them lookups. So like I'll have my regular tables and then my lookup tables separately. This is payee. My team is anti-region too. Oh no! I just failed the first test. I mean, I could adapt to not using regions. Wait, scheduled transaction. Did I spell it wrong? Oh, yes. Yes, I did. Yeah, iDisposable, so the dispose pattern, I use it a lot for helpers at the end of a file. Do a bunch of region changes they made. Awesome. Regular transaction, transaction detail, and transfer. Account, payee, scheduled transaction, transaction detail, and transfer. Okay. And then public virtual DB set. I've never seen that one. Yeah, I've never seen. I'll read it out what Dukasoft typed, but I haven't encountered a setup that looks like this. Let's do the other one. The next one is categories returns a set of lookup category and it's read only. I don't know. I haven't seen this approach. Because, I mean, this makes sense to me where it's defaulting to return a set of lookup category. So set is an operation that you can do directly on database context when you are doing like, from raw SQL or using a stored procedure or SQL interpolated. Um, but yeah, so maybe I'm thinking about this wrong, where this would actually return null when this is still being hydrated. Yeah, is set fat? Well, it would have to be. So the thing that you get when you do like a dot select, um, let's just do public void. Um, so if you did something like transfers, this is terrible because I want to write the word context in front of it. All right, so context, you would have your database context injected or the context factory, and then you'd create an instance of your database context. And you would have context.transfers. So this would give back a set of transfer already. It's just doing it by dotting on this. But I don't know what the implications are of having that thing be read-only that returns a set of lookup category, because that means it doesn't have the setter on it. I've never done this before like this. I guess we can look at it both ways. Under the hood, it does set t, cache the stuff. It does. So if I call it 3 times, it does less work the second and third time. That's, yeah, yeah. So it's like here we're needing to instantiate a new set of lookup category every single time that we are dotting off of context to get categories, as opposed to account types always getting that initially set of account types, for example. I don't know. I'd be really curious. And Tyron says that's also his concern. But my other concern is I don't know enough about how the actual setup of these dbset objects happens. And so would there be a time when I would call context.accountTypes where account types is null because the context has not gone through whatever setup it needs to do? I doubt it, and that's why I've used this for all of my other apps that have nullability turned on. So I'm going to go with this for now. But I'm going to put a little note in here. Dang it. Let go of Alt. Okay. So we need someone like Nick Chapsis to do that comparison for us, because I don't know how to do it. Something about using benchmark and checking to see how many times set of blah instantiate something versus how many times context dot categories with this approach instantiates the object. something. Line item type. Line item type. Line item types and recurrence types finally. Oh, or take a look at this article, which was written in 2022, about 2 months ago. Do we have an author? Contributors. Oh man, I can't think of his name. But one of the people from the Entity Framework team contributed to this. Shay contributed to this article. Nullable reference types, allowing blah blah blah, required and optional parameters, and then the actual thing that you linked to was down here in this DB set, DB context and DB set. The common practice of here it is. So this is exactly what Ducasoft linked us, which says the common practice of having uninitialized dbset properties on context types is also problematic, as a compiler will now emit warnings for them. This can be fixed as follows. It says it can be fixed as follows. Another strategy is to use non-nullable auto properties but initialize them to null using the null forgiveness operator to silence a compiler warning. The DB context space constructor ensures that all dbset properties will get initialized and null will never be observed in them. But this little blurb does not address the questions that we just had, which is, if you do it this way, are we initializing a new set of customer every single time we do context.customers? Versus the approach that we're taking here, which is using the null forgiveness operator that says set accounts once and only once, or as needed, I guess, and then always reference that same one after setting the underlying backing field. That's a tough one. Hey, here it is. Kind of. Still, I thought that there was a options builder not configured, because it's a DB context options builder, not DB context options. Apply. Okay, so I think that there is no base options builder. So maybe untyped. Dude. Oh, that's on configuring. It is community day, but no one's on the call. You're right. You're right. Tommy said that he was going to come in and talk about some HTMX stuff, but he hasn't been here yet. So anyway, we have those. So now we're going to have our overrides, and one of our overrides is the protected override on configuring and on model creating. So I like to do both of those. And this is the one where I said if not options dot configured, then you could provide some base you could provide some base implementation or base options that you could add yourself to the DB context. But we're not overriding anything in there, but we would do it there. I just wanted to exemplify that. And then Tyron posted or referred us to this link that says, here is what it calls when we do set, get or add set. Which is we just check to see if what class are we in? If the DB context is disposed, then it does stuff. Otherwise, if sets is null, then create a new dictionary of type string, a tuple of type string is the key, and then the actual object itself. And then if we can't get the value from that tuple dictionary, then set equal to a new instance, otherwise return what we already have. So it looks like there are no, it's a hash lookup cost every time you pay extra for. But is that also the same for the regular get of a DB set? Or when we do DB set, are we always only returning the backing field? Like we're not checking the backing field in the same way that we're checking the backing field here. Although checking the backing field is still going to be faster. I think. I don't know. I don't know how. Yeah, I can't logic through that. But Live Coding was saying, I'm interested to ask questions about the current state of Entity Framework development since I've never used it in my life. I mean, you can definitely ask. So I'll pull you in.
I don't know.
I got pulled in
Also,
immediately.
before you talk too much, I just wanted you to know that I do post my videos to YouTube. I don't know if you were here when I said that earlier.
All right. No identifiable information. I'm a ghost.
Not just that, but also letting you know if you don't want to have your questions and your voice and stuff on
Sure.
YouTubes.
I don't care.
But yeah, I won't be able to give you any official answers as far as the state of development of EF, but I can tell you how I use it.
Cool. Well,
So if you
I
guys
don't
don't know
have
Live
anything
Coding,
super...
he is a streamer on occasion, by the way.
Annually.
Shout out.
An annual streamer.
Annual streamer.
Yep, I got rated 1,000 viewers.
Oh yeah, and this is when you got rated by Primogen. Yep, I got rated. 1,000 viewers. No biggie. But anyway, that's Live Coding. Now you know him, if you didn't know him before.
By the way, I'm trying to get it. I'm on my iPad right now, which has like a minute delay. So if you're doing anything on the stream,
no, you won't be able to see.
That's how it goes on iPad. I don't know. They just, I guess, they do buffering. I don't know. Whatever. All good.
Bull for you. So what is going on?
Well, I'm trying to log in on my browser. Nothing much. I'm just curious. So what was the whole context I just got here? What was the whole context of trying to get your loading children in through a DB set or something?
No, there were two approaches for setting up the DB set itself in your database context. And they're both on screen.
I don't know, like, does it even, how do I say this? Does it even matter? Like, I don't know.
For my app, no. My app is small enough that I don't have so many requests per however long that it's going to use up server resources, eat through my what are they called? RUs.
Oh, your units of database. So yeah, because I mean it's always about efficient querying, not really efficient C# querying, if that makes sense. Like, what do I mean about that? Like, the classic n+1 problem is always giant, but like once you get it from the database, like it shouldn't matter anymore. I don't know.
Right. So what we're looking at is the actual set object or set method, I guess, in database context. And so, like, I'm trying to leave this on screen so that your iPad doesn't need to think too hard. And I'll make it bigger.
I'm gonna load you in an anonymous. I can't be in chat. There we go. I'm gonna have to watch an ad too because
Tyron is gonna hop in as well.
Perfect. All right, I got you I figured out I don't have to log in to watch a Twitch stream, it turns out. Okay, so you're good. You're
weird.
On the screen.
So there's this, and you're still gonna get a delay, but there's this public DB set accounts, arrows set of account, which if you know Entity Framework Core, you can do context.set of whatever entity type dot select dot where dot order by, all of that, versus public virtual DB set accounts full property or auto property equals null forgiveness operator, because we know it's never going to be null.
Wow. So
yeah, let me see if I can explain this. The fact that this is a DB context is not really relevant in this case. It could be any class and it could be any property. And effectively what this is doing is it's under the hood, it's creating a dictionary to look up by the type that you pass in. And so basically it says, if I have not seen this type before, create a new class called DB set of that type and stick it in the dictionary. And then I can always refer to a set of whatever type, and it will always give me out the exact same instance of it. However, technically that is slower than holding on to an instance of that class and just using that instance of that class directly, which is what line 16 does in this case. It is holding on to an instance of a set of DB set account or whatever, and every accessor would access. No, I mean that's what that does under the hood. All this thing does under the hood. I mean, effectively, if you look at line 13 could be written as public DB set account bracket get bracket return set bracket account bracket, right? It's just a shorthand for that. So basically, all it is a getter that returns whatever set is. Exactly. And so
wait, is it? Oh, okay. I'm confused.
That's actually faster. This is actually faster.
Yeah, this would be faster.
Correct. This would actually be more akin to what we want, which is we will call set the first time when it's constructed one time. When we build this thing, we'll call set one time, and then it will just store that value. That is the default value for that property, unlike the other one, which calls it every time someone calls the getter on it, which would do a hash lookup. And hash lookups are fast, especially if you're only working with like 5 or 6 items. And it's not an expensive thing. I'm talking nanoseconds in comparison to the many milliseconds you might spend doing a DB query. So we're really splitting hairs here. One is just cleaner looking than the other, but technically speaking, this is slower, mildly.
Line 16, what's default turn into? Does that turn into
default's just it's just a compiler thing to say, don't worry, it will be set to something, trust me.
No, well, it depends on type, right? Like default.
Well, yeah. In this case, it'll be null, but it's never going to be used because the DB context will set it to something for us.
Yeah. So it's because of this thing
but that's only if you're running Entity Framework. If you're not, like, if you have like unit tests.
Yeah. No, hypothetically, he could change default here, get rid of the default exclamation point, and put set bracket in there. Take the setter out because you don't need the setter, and it would effectively be the same thing.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. Interesting.
except that I wouldn't be able to do that because this is using an instanced method.
Yeah.
Which we can't do.
You could do it in a constructor.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
You could do it to constructor, and it should allow you to do it. But anyways, I got to get going. I got a meeting, but I hope that explained it. It's I'm splitting hairs here. Honestly, it's whatever you prefer. I think in this case, because the amount of time you're going to spend doing communications with the database and actually running queries is going to far surpasses it. It basically makes it free. Effectively, it
Yeah.
doesn't really cost so much more, but it is technically mildly very little bit slower.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Yep.
And that'll leave time for you to say more live coding because you were trying to say more.
No, I don't. Yeah, I think we're all pretty reasonable folk here. And I've never actually had to use Entity Framework, so I'm kind of curious about all the little details. Like I've done in a hibernate, as they say in Brazil.
In a hibernate.
In a hibernate.
Just like you and Kafka.
And some other proprietary one that's 100% dead, I'm sure. Anyway, but I've never seen EF. Interesting. So, or you know what I mean by never seen it, never had to deal with it.
You haven't really had experience with it on your own. So the overall thing that we were just discussing is what are the implications of having this arrows thing, because if you know any kind of property that just uses public, let's say it's a string, hold arrows, new string, every single time we dot this find_man context dot hold, it's going to create the resources and everything needed to generate this string every single time we do dot hold. And so that's the same thing that's going to happen here. Every single time we call set, or every single time we dot off of accounts, we call set method call, as opposed to call the, and this this set of course is like a set of, as in a bunch of rows, or the way to get all of the rows back from the table that is of this type from the underlying database. But this, go ahead.
I was going to ask, so that's one interesting thing that y'all use DB set instead of just like a list. Is there other different EF DB set equivalents for different type of collections?
No, that's the thing. So DB set is the abstraction for any type of underlying database.
Interesting.
So DB set is the thing that says, I don't care what kind of underlying database it is. I know that it's going to give us something that is queryable, that is orderable, that you can do a where iterator on, you can do other predicates on.
What about treating it like a list? Like, is DB set, like, how do I say this? I think I get the idea that DB set has some magic query stuff on it, but
right. Plus change tracking, plus other things.
What about the so what does your set function do? Maybe I'm
good.
seeing
right.
that's what's
You're good.
different.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of an actual set, like, hash set or whatever they're
exactly.
called.
And that's what you should be thinking for sure.
Okay.
So I showed, it's probably still down there. So we could have, so this would be your instance of your database in your code. I'm just going to use this because this is my DB context. And in your code, you would do something like var results equals context. Actually, let's do query equals context dot some table. And because this is a DB set that has potential navigation properties, I could do dot include payee, not accounts, transaction. Let's do transactions. Include payee, which means for every row in my transactions table, I also want to populate the payee data, which is a related table. And then I can do a select new, I'm doing an anonymous object, but this is usually a view model that has the right, and we also want to include the account. So account name is account.name. So here you can see like it's going from this DB set of account to an individual record in that DB set to the relationship property account to the property in that account table called name for each row in transactions.
And okay, and that does save a billion queries. I get that
Right.
point. Dot include should change the nature of the SQL query that gets emitted. What am I getting at? Okay, so yeah, just in general, what are the tools that you use to check? Like, how does EF say?
You want to know about testing.
Not totally not testing, but like, how do I say this? Checking. You can't even write a unit test for like, am I running too many SQL queries? You know, so
Right.
maybe someone's written some sort of crazy NuGet package, but it's not a thing that's done. So my real question is just, what is my real question? And this is, I'm already changing subject. So just how do you
You're
avoid
okay.
a ton of SQL queries? You see what I'm saying? Like, do you have, like, what we used to do with the really old ancient ORM was we would just print SQL statements to the console.
Right.
And if you saw like 40 pages of SQL statements go by, you realize, oh, whoops, you know? Instead of like one or, one and then a second one and then a third one, like, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 queries is okay. But then once you get into the like one per row, let's run a SQL query, then you realize, oh,
Yeah, oh
we
my
messed up.
gosh, which I have a whole bunch of, or had, I no longer work at the RMA. All of those stored procedures that were like for each record, then do this insert for this other table, and then do a select from this other, and it's like you could still do them as, bigger joined inserts and stuff.
So
But
is there like a print SQL thing? Because I know like, what was his name? Allende had a profiling tool. And it was great for in Hibernate, and we used it, and it was
yeah,
necessary because in Hibernate had some pretty terrible stuff. But he also had an EF version of it. I'm curious, does anyone use that nowadays, or I don't know?
I
Or have
mean
you heard of
definitely
anyone?
for mocking and stuff.
Well,
But
I mean, like he called it like what is it called? EF Profiler, and it was a very
oh yeah, I've
specific
heard of
tool.
it. I've heard of it.
Okay, it's
The tool
very
that I
ugly.
use a lot is EF Core Power Tools.
Okay,
But
so they have one of those. Okay.
yeah, the main thing that we'll get is in the dev console, you can have all of your SQL statements print out. You can even put log annotations on them. So not necessarily log them to a logger, but put something like this, a simple string statement that says this query is supposed to do blah. And then
Mhm.
you'll see them go by in your PowerShell or in
Okay.
your console.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in debug, if I were to put a breakpoint here, then this is still a query. This has not executed yet. So I would be able to go into debug mode and see what SQL it's going to generate. And
Yeah.
then when I execute the query, which is when I try to materialize it to a list, which I think you were asking about earlier.
Yeah. And you'd see 400 SQL
Yeah,
queries. And
then it would
whoops.
show the query down here in my console and then give me back my results.
Yeah.
But this is more akin to an IEnumerable than it is a list. A DB set is more like an IEnumerable
Okay, and
for all
yeah,
of the stuff.
IEnumerable, I guess is what I meant. I just
Yeah,
I was confused by the name being set, which implies to me that one of those very specific data types
yeah,
are
yeah.
the collection
Oh
of
yeah,
unique
and now that
items
you're saying
set.
that again, so one of the topics that you did have was what is set. So my result 21 apparently could be context dot set of transaction, and this could be from anything that I want. It could be from raw SQL, it could be from an interpolated query, it could be from a stored procedure, as long as the
Hmm.
result turns into the same shape as a transaction.
Yeah, the shape has to be right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And that way you can do some, this is what is the Dapper killer. This is the thing that will let you just do a lot of ad hoc, among other things. It'll let you do a lot of ad hoc querying and just please give me my data from the database into some objects.
Yep.
Okie dokie.
Exactly. Some clever fast join thing here.
Just,
That's
by the
better than
way,
using dot include.
yeah. By the way, I just did my first C# programming of the year. It's July. So I've done
How
some
dare you?
C#. Yeah. And I just realized like I have no idea what's going on anymore and it's fine. So I stumbled through it. I got it working mostly. We got firewall issues, but anyway, I got my little program working. No, I am serious. We have I was like, all right, I got it working, and then we deployed it to dev and it worked, and then we deployed it to production and there is some sort of extra firewall. I gotta figure it out.
Oh no.
I have access to all that. So anyway.
That's sad.
But it's all good. But yeah, I do realize I have no idea what's going on in .NET development anymore. So
yeah, it's gotten like there are so many advancements made in it that I just absolutely love, and I don't have any desire to explore other languages because
No, I get
everything that I
that.
want to do I can do like the with my tools, but at the same time I'm sure that there are things that are better suited for performance, for
Who cares about
whatever else. Who cares about
like that? That's the time. Every time. So anyway, performance
Stop
really
interrupting
doesn't
yourself.
matter.
Your anyway word needs to go away. You
No,
have valid
that's
thoughts. I want to hear them.
I believe my valid thoughts. What was oh goodness, I used to always link to the Peter Norvig thing, but there's like a diagram where he's like, here's like what a L3 cache hit on a CPU, you know, it's like a nanosecond or something, and then he's like, here's a network call. And what I always point to is I'm like, I always live in the layer that has like too many network calls, and I've never moved up. I've never had to move up beyond that layer. Like I don't have to worry about CPU instructions. I don't have to worry about memory efficiency for the most part. Like anyway, so that I do have a reasonable take, which is that performance doesn't matter. I mean, but like this EF stuff,
reasonably,
like,
within reason, of course.
hey, no, I'll just say it blanket. That's the best way. Anyway, so yeah, network calls are always the case with these like EF things. Like the problem is going to be that you're running 200 round trip queries.
Yeah.
And not the fact that you're.
Yeah. And that's the other cool thing. There are just so many things that the EF team did with Entity Framework, like this as single query right here is insane. So that means that we're not really like, you could do these as separate, select from this table, select from this table, select from this table, or we could do it all as a join, and it's done efficiently and it's crazy.
Yeah, a single query.
Good stuff.
Yeah, these are all the things I've never heard of.
I am gonna invite in Tommy because he did want to show off that HTMX stuff.
Yeah,
Hello, Tommy.
definitely. I heard a ding. Welcome, Tommy. I don't hear you.
My mic working?
I need to turn you up.
Yeah. Second sometimes.
Cool. So Tommy, if you guys don't know him, has been a member of the community for quite a while. Brought in by the one, the only, the Broken Sword.
The
there
Broken
are about 16 of them. Well, there's 2 of them right now in our Discord. There's the Broken Sword.
Are there really?
Broken Sword.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, so you had some I'm gonna call it cool stuff. I haven't seen it yet, but you have some cool stuff you want to show us.
So the app that I have for work, let me share my screen.
Yep, and let me bring you up. Actually, I'll let you share your screen first, and then I'll pull you on camera.
Perfect. I'm trying to think. Okay, we'll try to do it like this. So it's in. Oh, did it not? Did not go? Hold on.
Not yet.
Go live.
There it is. Squish. Now I just have to wait for it to.
It's not
except you ended
working.
it. Oh no.
Something. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, something's.
Okay, while I'm holding, I will read through some of the chat, which I love this
Sure.
comment from Zulius, which was, we're talking about DB entities, how do even a million hash lookups weigh up against a single DB set miss and resulting DB lookup? This is a premature optimization at its worst. I agree, but it was a discussion to explore it, so it wasn't necessarily to do anything fancy with our code. We're all about talking about technology. And then
Okay,
he
so
also
I will
said,
I'll just share this screen, I guess. Then we'll just do a window.
but he
It
also
says the
said
stream ended. What is happening?
the time spent on this conversation already paid for a couple billion hash lookups. Yeah.
Let me.
I don't know what's
It
happening.
won't let me
Make
actually.
it stop.
It won't let me share my screen for some reason.
Are you on a work computer?
Nope.
Huh.
Let me. I'm gonna try restarting Discord. I'll be right back.
Okay. And there he goes. Or not. You're probably connected on a different device because you didn't leave chat or leave the voice channel.
Back. Let's see.
So you never left the voice channel. Are you connecting to the voice channel from a different device than you're trying to stream from?
No, I am on my computer. I completely closed Discord and then opened Discord, and I guess the latency of it kicking me was longer than the duration it actually took me to restart the app. Because I did close Discord entirely. But you know what? Hold on. Maybe it's the other, because I do have another instance of Discord. Hold on, I closed it over here. So we'll try this then.
I will just say I'm here and I'm useless, so I'll stay mostly quiet.
It literally won't let me go live.
Welcome for that. 122.
Hold on 1 sec. I'm gonna try.
I want to hold on 1 sec. I'm gonna keep going while you're doing it. There, he finally left. He's gone. We don't have to worry. I'm kidding. I am going to go ahead and try to create this migration, but to do that, we need to add the DB context to our migration app. Pulling him back in.
Hey, so I left to join another Discord to check to see if I could stream in there, and it let me put up my stream.
Maybe a permissions issue.
I think it's the channel or something.
I don't think so.
Go to stream waiting room.
I wouldn't think it would be. That's why I wanted to try that though, just to eliminate the possibility.
Check out stream waiting room. Actually, you know what? I'll share my screen. Actually, no, I won't because I'm at work.
Try sharing a window, like a YouTube video or something.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll share the browser window.
Yeah.
All right. I am not useless. Well, I am still, but
yeah, that says the stream has ended.
Yeah.
But that was Tommy's.
Yeah.
Is it possible to share your screen from the browser? I mean,
Unless
I know how to use computers.
When you click screen, the application would be the first one.
Oh, yeah. Screen.
Who can access this channel?
I can't tell if it. Share your screen.
Try one more time.
You click on the window, then you click go live, and that should be it.
It is not so much letting me.
Well, Tommy, try one more time. There's live code.
Oh, see, look, it's closed. It's the same thing.
Well, let's just go to a different room. Go to Community Hangout.
Okay.
Community Hangout.
Ah, yep, see, there it goes. Hello, welcome back.
Oh, welcome back.
Yeah, so it's letting me here. I guess it must have been like it just doesn't like me, that channel.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably my permission settings, just like you guys said. I
They
don't
could
know
have
what I did.
added a new setting because it wasn't a setting before where you could limit permissions on streaming in channels. So could be new.
Yeah, I'll look at that after.
So
Sounds
But you're
exciting.
on screen.
So this is the front of the application. I showed you the application a while ago. It's the same app for my business for like data entry and stuff. But I've changed it so now we use our Azure identities, right? Oh, we have
Except you
MFA.
can't suddenly. Oh,
MFA.
that's as approved. Gotcha.
Yeah.
MFA.
Yeah.
Hey, I really
Mother
love our
freaking authentication, you know?
I actually really love the Microsoft Authenticator thing. It's very much more convenient than the other methods I've had to use.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It is pretty smooth. So this app is built using Python and Flask, and it's using like a templating engine, which basically like it compiles and renders your server-side HTML and then serves it, right? And the way that I got around having to reload all the pages is using something called Htmx, which allows you to make very easy calls, like AJAX calls to your server while targeting an element in your document or in your DOM to replace with the return. And so when you click on any of these, it's just replacing the content body with the returned server-side HTML. And is that how that works?
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Oh,
it's kind of like the Razor engine or Blazor component rendering engine, where it's not really doing a navigation. It's just replacing the contents of or the individual elements of the DOM.
Exactly. And so HTMX also allows you to push to the URL. So the endpoint that you return from, you can push to the URL. So in case they have to refresh the page or something, when they refresh it, it's still there.
History back and forth.
One of the things that ended up with the history, like I ran into an issue with history actually because I told you before that I was having issues with the JavaScript, basically like duplicating itself, and or missing the elements and then having errors. And so like if I press back on the history, I actually force a page reload in order to prevent that because when you go backwards, it was doing a similar thing. But that's the only time the page actually reloads. And here, I'll show you what it looks like in the code because it's kind of cool how simple it is.
Yeah, the thing I like about it the most is how fast it loads, like that initial load. Because like if we did something similar to what you said that you needed to do, where if you navigate back, it does a reload, it would need to reload the entire app, which takes a couple seconds, even if the app was already running.
Yeah, and I imagine that could still eventually it could take a little while in order to reload the whole application. But I guess because it's not reloading the app, it's just reloading the rendered, like the served HTML. It'll be pretty fast most of the time. You know what I mean? I was talking about this in the Discord the other day or yesterday, or asked about it, and a couple people actually chimed in and showed me. Live coding was one of them, but Ghost Ninja showed me the library called Shepherd.js, which lets you basically create tours for your application so that I can come through and show people how to do things in the app without having to answer their questions.
Yeah. I definitely, since I'm here to explain, I definitely did one Google search and posted the most promising result. And then I shared with you the Google search with the idea being that
That's
you understood,
totally
ran a single Google search. I've never
Yeah,
run
that's
into this myself.
totally fair. So let me
I think
change
it
Scott
worked,
wants
this.
to
but I'm
know.
not involved at all. Go ahead.
Scott wants to know if this is a project that you made personally.
So it is a work-related application. It's like an internal data entry line of business application. But I did make it. I'm the only one working on it. so, so yes, in a sense.
But that was really cool. I really like the tour. And then Scott said that he doesn't really like tours on websites.
Yeah,
but if
I
it's an
don't.
opt-in tour, I'm all for it.
It is. It's
If
a.
it's one
It
that
is.
every time you load the page for the first time on a different
Oh
browser or
no,
something, it's like
I hate that too.
follow this.
I showed my lead, my DBA, because he's the manager, I guess, of our team. The ability to do this. I didn't even show him the execution yet of this tour, and he was like, "Oh, when somebody logs in and they register, we could walk them through everything for the first time." And I'm like, I don't know about that.
No.
Instead, if they need it, let's put it, because I wanted to basically, like I said, make a frequently asked questions section, and I kind of did, where you can navigate to certain areas, but I wanted to do like a walkthrough section also. Like, how do I do this? And then they click a button and it walks them through in that case.
But also being able to early exit would be a good idea, Avitus is saying.
Yeah, I agree. I did put the X to cancel the tour on here, but it creates a header section, and I wasn't sure exactly what to put in the header section yet, and it looked gross, so I removed it temporarily.
Yeah, just put it in the content and then use CSS styling to move it to the right and up.
Yeah, I'll probably end up doing that. I think it was one of the features that like Shepherd has in there, and the way that it's styled automatically, I didn't like, so I just took it out until I can get around to it.
Cool. But you said you were going to show some code too?
Yes, I will. I'll show the code. I'm sorry.
Awesome.
Change windows. We'll go to this one, and you guys should see this now, right?
No, I mean, yes. I forget which word means the affirmative sometimes.
So let me see if I can find the HTMX. So HTMX has inheritance, basically, where in the top level of a DOM element, if you establish something, then it will be carried down to the other elements as well. And so I'm trying to remember where
what's
I put
the
it. Right
underlying project type, did you say?
Like data entry.
No, I mean like when you did .NET New or.
Oh, so it's Python and Flask.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flask. Okay.
Yeah. So and HTMX has actually been used a lot with Django, and Django and Flask they're really kind of similar. There's a lot of, obviously the same language, or technically, right? But they're structured pretty similarly. That's fair. But they're structured pretty similarly. That they use like a templated engine in order to push stuff out, and so using HTMX in Flask wasn't too complicated. It kind of moved pretty quickly. I'm trying to find this. I'm sorry. I should have prepared. I said, I woke up so late.
You were in meetings.
Yeah.
Definitely understand.
I woke up late this morning and immediately got thrusted into meetings, and I was like, oh no. Because we started the MFA today. Like the MFA you just saw. Mm-hmm. It broke a lot of our BI stuff, so we've just been yeah, basically. Where is it? It's in my.
I feel your pain.
Yeah,
that's all I got. I know nothing to actually help, but just I feel your pain.
That's okay. I mean, I understand. I think it's in my sidebar stuff. That should be good. So this is right sidebar. So I need my left sidebar.
So I'm noticing also that none of these files have an extension of HTMX. They're all HTML.
Yeah, so the way HTMX works is you actually just include it in your scripts. Right here, you can either download it or not. And then that is all the setup required. HTMX can basically be used on any like backend framework that you want, and you'll see right here. So this is a macro in Jinja, which basically lets me when the HTML is rendered, I can call this just like a function, right, and give it these objects, and then it'll render this HTML with these, right? And so the HTMX here is this hxget equals my link. And this basically just tells it that it's going to send an Ajax GET request to whatever the link ends up being in the sidebar. And
I have so many questions at this point.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
It so much looks like other like JavaScript SPA frameworks.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you're saying it's server rendered. How's that server rendered? How is the magic of server rendering happening?
A lot of it would be Jinja would be part of the magic, right? But if I come into Jinja 2 is a templating engine that basically like this is essentially a template file. So I'm gonna come down here and you'll see like this right here. If HTMX, so if my call to my route was done by HTMX, then I'm gonna return this partial. Otherwise, I'm gonna return the full page.
Yeah, and so that render template, when you're saying render template, it's taking the HTML file, reading the stuff that has the HTMX stuff, turning it into just raw HTML that's served.
Well, so the HTMX stuff doesn't actually even happen yet. So it's I guess it's a little bit different because of how the HTML is rendered. So render template basically just tells Jinja 2, the templating engine, to go ahead and serve the HTML after everything gets rendered and put into place. So like those macros that I showed you, right? Mm-hmm. So when I'm calling one of those macros, it's not it's in my templates. It looks something like this, maybe, you know, where it's like a render partial. This is an HTML file, by the way. I'm injecting all these variables in here, and I have a block that takes up a portion of my HTML, and so it's weird because it all kind of trickles down, but Jinja basically takes all of this HTML for whichever one I decide to send and converts it just to pure HTML. Right. That's what the render template does, and then it
does it server side.
Exactly, it does it all server side.
Yeah. But there's also a link to a HTMX script. So what's the deal with the HTMX script and the JavaScript?
So HTMX, are you? What do you mean in the
there was a script tag that referenced something HTMX.
Yeah, so HTMX, so when your page is loaded, right? So when your HTMX is rendered, then HTMX basically processes your HTML. So
it becomes the engine for receiving requests, and then
exactly. So it finds all of those HX gets, HX targets, you know, inside of your HTML, and will then basically attach handlers to them in order to execute what you want to execute.
Yeah, and that really does sound a lot like what Blazor does, except that Blazor does it through Signal R, and then it initializes everything, well, through Signal R, and then of course the .NET runtime that's, if you're doing WASM, that's running in the browser. But it's that Blazor rendering engine.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar thing, I think. It really is. The nice thing about HTMX, at least in this execution or this situation, was like the only thing I had to change in order to make this work with HTMX instead of making it work with basic server-side rendering where you're reloading the page and then reserving the request, was taking the content body outside of my template, which is what that partial is, and then just changing this from an href to like an hx get, and then adding in the target of my content body. And that the target, because every hx request that I have will target my content body, my hx target actually exists much higher up in my DOM because, like we talked about before, it gets inherited by everything. So.
And then would you be able to, if you needed to, change the target for that one anchor tag? Would you be able to do that?
Yep. If I wanted, so this actually is all of my sidebar items because this gets rendered out as a macro. But if I wanted to come in here and do something else like sidebar body or something like that, I could just use a CSS selector in order to change this target. But everything else will still have the same target of content body.
Cool.
You can also, if I wanted to, I could keep this as an href. So just in case something happens, right? Like maybe HTMX isn't working. Maybe something broke, right? I could come in here and I could actually keep it as an href and use the hx boost property. And hx boost just says change these endpoints from href endpoints to HTMX endpoints. And you can inherit this too. So if I wanted to, I honestly wouldn't have needed to even change this. I could have just come in here into the top of my sidebar, right, and just do like hx boost true. It's right here, already there.
Yeah.
These are those other.
That's kind of like creating a nice fallback for everything.
Exactly.
Can I see your simplest page emitted HTML? Like visit one of your simple pages, just whatever has the least stuff in it. And
he wants to see the rendered HTML, I think, in the dev tools, right?
Yeah, dev tools.
Oh, yeah. You want me to load it real quick? I'll get a response.
And don't forget to undo that href change.
It should still work. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll just pretend I will definitely not
Microsoft
look too
Tech
close.
and they get this. Oh, tired.
We should do hard mode for him. We should suggest that he make random changes to his code base and then not look at Git and then figure out how to fix it all.
Oh, trust me. That's what I do.
Oh.
I told you I'm the only one working
That's your
on
normal
this.
workflow.
Yeah, exactly. You got to give me a challenge. Okay, so I just rendered this accounts page. It may not be the simplest. The simplest might actually be this dashboard because it's an iframe. So let's do that instead. So we'll come over here.
Over XHR. So this is what you're talking about. Like the partials are loaded over, not through like what they call a document, but over. Okay. Yeah, and it was the partial HTML.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it puts it in place of probably using JavaScript document. So like it selects that element using JavaScript.
The CSS selector. Yeah. Exactly.
Which is supposedly different than the way that the Razor engine works, where the Razor engine is actually targeting the document some different way and then just updating the individual sections. So I forget what it's called. It's like a token or a glyph or something that they put. So in our HTML, you'll see a lot of comments, empty comments, and those are just little tokens where content could be generated if the user performs an action.
That makes sense. Oh, made that one go too big.
But yeah, that's some really cool stuff, though.
I have one more question. I'm not done. I don't understand enough yet.
I have to get back to work, though.
No. All right, I have one question. Here we go.
Okay.
So I'm hyper focusing on that JavaScript Htmx script file.
Yep.
So there there are certain HTMX directives that you set that will invoke stuff on the client side, is my understanding. This is not a completely server rendered framework. This is a mostly server rendered framework that also has dynamic behavior.
So I'm going to separate. I'll separate it out. So HTMX is handling client side requests.
Okay.
Flask and Jinja is handling rendering the server rendered HTML and returning that.
So Jinja, and Jinja must be a Python thing. Is it doing is it almost like evaluate all the HTML and JavaScript and show me the emitted DOM? Is that what it's doing?
It evaluates all of, like, you see these. This is an example of my sidebar. So you see how this says include soft sidebar sections main.html, right? So this page, I am including this page in my sidebar. So if I called for sidebar /main.html, Jinja would execute everything that's in here and trickle down and execute everything in all of the sections until it contains pure HTML.
Okay, let me ask you, the curly brace %, those are Jinja directives, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's where I got confused. All right, so when you have a .html extension, you are lying to me. And
I know,
this is full of lies.
Yeah, essentially.
The whole thing is full of lies.
But see,
that's why I was like, one of the things that I noticed is everything is.
Yeah.
So I need you to rename everything from HTML to .jinja, .html.
Right, I got you.
HTML.
So either way, just get Jinja 2. I'm sorry, yeah. Jinja 2 .html. And then add a few more just so I feel better.
Yeah, it is strange at first.
Again, you guys can definitely continue this conversation. You're in Community Hangout. Discord isn't going anywhere.
I'm going to bail.
So if you want to continue this,
back to work.
I will be hanging out in the Community Hangout channel as well, but I'll also be reading through the Microsoft Learn courses so that I can do this certification. I'm doing that as part of my job, so.
Gold partner. Yeah. You gotta maintain. I took one test for the record. That's how I got mine. I took one test.
It's to do my one certification per year. Yep.
So that's how I manage. All right. If you got to bail, I'll allow it. Deflux was here and didn't say anything. That was awesome.
Yeah, I joined in. Y'all talking, so I figured I'd let you guys.
Yeah, because we're on stream. If you didn't know, Deflux.
I did not know that.
Okay, but now you know. Because the stream room, the remote stream room, I need to apparently figure out settings to allow streaming on there. So we had to move into here. But I'm going to be ending my stream. I'll mute myself in here. You guys can keep talking though. Okay. All right. So that was Tommy showing off HTMX stuff, live coding where we just talked about Entity Framework, and we finished the scaffolding and sketching of the database. Added the database objects to the context, and the next thing that we're going to want to do is set up some seeding for these lookup tables. Yeah, I think those are the only seeds that I'm going to add directly, but I am going to run off, grab a snack so that I can get back to training and distracting myself with the bot that I've been trying to put together now that I have a little bit of time to do that. So if you see me typing stuff in chat, no need to respond. If you're hanging around the stream for whatever reason while we're offline, you don't need to respond. I am just testing out the bot. But yeah, thank you a billion, million, trillion for hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed your Friday and have a fun, fantastic weekend, whether you're doing work, whether you're doing relaxation, whether you're doing nothing, doesn't even matter. After I end the stream and go get some food, I'll be hanging out in the community voice channel, as I mentioned, on Discord. So feel free to join us. And you have Discord and the YouTube channel there. So thank you so much for being here. I will catch you all whenever you're back. I'll be back next Monday. All right. Ciao for now. Tschüss. Shalom. Bye. Bai. Bye. Bye-bye.